Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million strategy roundtable for entrepreneurs. 1M by 1M, as we know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million startups reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. We work only in tech and tech-enabled services. So this is the 651st 1M by 1M roundtable. And we've been doing this for a long, long time, since way back when, in 2008 is when we started. We are going to start today with an investor interview that I'm going to play for you. And then we're going to do some of the mentoring sessions. So Maureen, I will hand you over to kick off the investor interview portion. Focus today's session on a conversation with my friend Ashmit Sadana, Chief Engineer, as he calls himself, of Engineering Capital. And I want to underscore what he is claiming here is to be a hands-on techie. And if you look at how founders or partners of VC firms introduce themselves, they will call themselves general partner or managing partner or managing director. But Ashmit has chosen to call himself chief engineer, which is amazing because he is a hardcore techie person. I always learn a lot talking to him about our industry, our business, the startup business, the venture funded startup business. And today we're going to do something very special, actually. This is kind of like a kickoff of a series that we have just started, which is talking to investors about their artificial intelligence investment thesis. And it's super contemporary, super important. We have been covering AI entrepreneurship for a while now, as you know. But at the moment, we are at like the peak of the market and a lot has happened. And this, on this forum, we're going to unpack what's going on and why what's going on is going on. So welcome, Ashmit. It's a real pleasure to have you back here. And let's get started.
Thank you, Shaman. Always happy to be back.
So what is your investment thesis? In the age of AI, what are you thinking? How are you looking at the market?
My focus at Engineering Capital is very early stage investments in software companies that have a technical insight. That technical insight could come from AI. That's obviously a very recent phenomenon that has become much more successful, much more popular, and has reached a tipping point. We'll talk about some of those tipping points in AI. But for Engineering Capital, for me, it doesn't have to come only from AI. The other important attribute is that I invest in capital efficient companies that take a very small amount of capital, which are leveraging their technical insight to hopefully build a big business. Those are the two dimensions of my investment focus.
So Ashmit, you have invested in some companies that where the technical insight comes from AI, yes?
Yes, for sure.
Can we pick maybe a few of those case studies and double click down? Tell us what you've invested in, why you've invested in, what was the technical insight, and just some general understanding of a few case studies where you have played your hand.
Sure. So I want to start by recognizing that AI itself is a field that people have been working on for decades. And we have slowly been making progress from a technical perspective in terms of what we were able to do with, broadly speaking, machine learning, AI, that aspects of technology. However, a few years ago, we reached a tipping point. I think the popular tipping point in the media and the press was obviously ChatGPT. But I would say the technical tipping point was really a paper written about a decade ago, an ImageNet paper by Jeff Hinton from University of Toronto, which really demonstrated that you could recognize dogs versus cats in images using machine learning. And it was a phenomenal development that they were able to show using neural networks. And that is when I think companies, far-sighted companies like Google, Microsoft, etc., started investing very deeply I got involved with the University of Toronto, started looking at the AI space. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I made some investments, recognizing that we were reaching a tipping point. Of course, we couldn't predict that there would be so much, popular press and popular coverage. We didn't know ChatGPT was coming. But it was clear that the technology had reached a tipping point for usefulness. So here are two examples. I was the first investor in a company called Evinced, Evinced, and the founders had the observation that you could use vision, machine learning, machine vision, to help developers make websites, mobile applications accessible. Accessible meaning available to people with special needs. And if that was the only insight, it would have been an interesting company. It certainly have made the world a better place for people who have special needs. But what Naveen and Gal layered on top of that was this insight that they were able to do it in a way which made it better for regular people, for people who did not have special needs. And the fact that they were doing it with AI, they were doing it with machine vision, made it, of course, available at scale, very cheaply, very quickly. And so today they've built a substantial business. The example I always like to give when describing events is imagine watching a TV which has closed captioning. Today we take closed captioning for granted. You can go on YouTube, you can turn it on, you put your TV on, it comes on. And of course, closed captioning is a feature that was designed for people who are hearing impaired. So special needs, you're hearing impaired, you can read what someone is saying. However, it turns out that most people, 99% of the people who are not hearing impaired, have still used closed captioning occasionally. And that's what I mean by making it better for people who don't have special needs. So there's an accessibility feature that occasionally makes it better for everyone and makes the whole product a better experience. So that's what Events did with machine vision. They're a huge business now. We raised a Series A with Microsoft, Series B with Insight. They're a very large company now. And I'm very proud to have been the first and only investor in their pre-seed round when it was just a twinkle in the eye of Naveen and Dal saying, we think we can solve this problem with some machine vision, machine learning.
And the product they're selling is the closed captioning product?
No, closed captioning is only an example I'm using to explain how you can make a product. An accessibility feature makes a product better for everyone. The product that they sell is a developer tool which allows companies like hospitals, airlines, hotels, people who have large consumer bases that they deal with. So B2B2C is the business model, which allows them to make their products accessible. So if you go on the Capital One website or if you're a customer of Salesforce, now all your products are accessible thanks to Events.
I see. Okay. All right. You were going to do a second one.
Sure. Another example I'm very proud of is a company called Robust Intelligence. Again, I was the first investor, and then they did a good job. Yaron Singer, PhD from Berkeley, he was at Harvard at that time, when he recognized that as we were developing these AI models, as we were deploying them, they had this problem, which today we call hallucination, or in general, the errors in prediction that occur when you run these AI models. Especially on the generative AI side. And so how do you make them robust? That is really the core technology behind Robust Intelligence. The company's been around for about 4.5 years. Again, it's built a very substantial business now, and I think we have some of the best technology in the world to do that.
And what use cases are they applying this on, or how are they going to market?
Yeah, so the initial use cases were in the financial services industry in models that are embedded. In other words, models that are not used by individual users. They're not available to an outside user. But a simple example would be credit card analytics, fraud analytics, check deposit. One of the first examples that Yaron liked to show was depositing a check using your phone, an image from your phone, which is how most people deposit checks. Of course, checks are going away, but it's a great example because we were able to show that by simply modifying 4 or 5 pixels, just 4 or 5 pixels on that check, you could change the behavior of on the other end, a machine learning system that was going to recognize what you're doing. So our specialty at Robust Intelligence is an adversarial AI. That's really where the technology is.
Okay.
These are deeply technical ideas, no question about it. It's a little bit arcane, a little bit technical, but I want to emphasize that both robust intelligence and Evinced, and I have other examples I can give, are companies that were started with a very small amount of capital. $2 or $3 million is all the capital it took to get the product built, commercially available as selling in the market.
I'm happy to do more use cases or case studies because it kind of gives us an idea about what kinds of things you're investing in. I will ask you some questions based on what you've said so far. So let's just carry on with more examples for a moment.
Sure, I can give another example of a company called Concentric.ai, where again I was the first investor in a PC round. And here, what Karthik, who's the founder and CEO of the company, his insight was that we have a separate problem on the internet in the digital age of privacy, security, etc., for which there's an enormous amount of regulation and basically political battling that occurs at all times. And so now you have rules like GDPR, CCPA, all these are regulations that exist, that companies have to follow. Following these rules is relatively straightforward with structured data. You have a database, you have people's addresses and social security numbers. Yes, you can mask them, delete them, change them. You can manage all of that. What do you do with all the unstructured data that exists in your organization? People have much more unstructured data than structured data. It's a HIPAA violation to send someone an email saying, hey, my friend just got diagnosed with cancer. Now, suddenly you have that in your email. You haven't named your friend yet, but perhaps there's another way of identifying that friend in that email thread. So what Concentric built is a set of AI models to identify specific regulatory features that exist in unstructured data. It's completely automated. It runs in your email, runs on OneDrive, etc., and brings you into compliance. Under California law, you can send an email to a company and say, delete all of my data. Well, that's an easy email to send. It's a much harder email for a company to implement when they receive an email like that. And so Concentric will help you do things like that using AI.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you a question that is a bit more general question that will cut across all the things that we just talked about. AI versus generative AI. We have been covering AI startups, I think, since 2016. And there have been companies, very good companies, that have come up through the AI track over the last 8 years. And then, of course, 2 years ago, or let's say 1 year ago, not even 2 years yet, this whole generative AI phenomenon broke open in the public consciousness, in the popular consciousness. And now when people talk about AI, people tend to refer to generative AI, which I think is a bit of a misunderstanding of what's happening in the industry. For example, there's a company that just went public, Tempus, which is a vertical AI company it's mostly diagnostic AI in medical imaging. This is not a generative AI problem. You don't need to converse with a chatbot. You need to have models that can, diagnose on the basis of images and data, and that's a different problem. But I think, so I guess my question to you is how do you see these different opportunities? There is opportunities of vertical AI that are not generative AI opportunities. There are vertical AI opportunities that are also generative AI opportunities. That is also a class of opportunities. And then there is mission critical vertical AI with generative AI technology built in that hallucinates. So that's not an option. How do you look at all this? And by definition, these are companies that have to have technical insights, have to be able to, apply technology to solve these problems. Their entire reason for existence is technology-driven solutions. How do you look at all this? How do you parse this set of opportunities, and do you have a preference for one or the other?
Yeah, I mean, this is what makes venture capital and investing such a fascinating business, is that you have to stay in touch with the technology, and the technology advances very rapidly. So in the particular case of AI, which I'll broadly speak, I broadly define AI as these areas of machine learning that are used for prediction or recognition or classification. The original idea was to build classifiers using machine learning. And certainly the medical imaging example that you've given is a straight up classifier, right? You're probably trying to identify some particular thing like a cancer or a thing in radiology or a particular marker in genes, etc. That's a classic case of a classifier. Generative AI is a subset of AI where you are trying to predict the next token in a language using a model. That's the core case of generative AI. We can extend that now to multimodal models also, using sound, using video, using images, etc. Also, turns out it's very powerful over there. But here's, I think, the most important thing to remember about this space. These are all specific techniques that are a point in time. There's nothing magical about generative AI that says that it is a law of physics, that it is some core technology which will always be the important one. Tomorrow, someone could write a new paper. Tomorrow, someone could write a new model which is more efficient, which works better, perhaps uses less energy, perhaps makes higher quality predictions, and then we would not be using an LLM. We would not be using sort of today what people refer to as generative AI for doing it. So this is just a point in time technology that happens to be the state of the art today. Yes, it's very powerful. Yes, it's very useful, but it's the state of the art today. From an entrepreneurship perspective, for a founder, it's important to understand that generative AI and LLM techniques are based on scale. They are based on using massive amounts of data to train models, and therefore they're very expensive. It costs hundreds of millions of dollars to train a foundational model from scratch. And so really, that's not a venture style business. While there are some VCs who have invested in that, I don't consider that a venture business. That's sort of
not capital efficient venture style business.
Absolutely. It is definitely not capital efficient to do that. I mean, if you need tens of thousands of GPUs and you have to run things for weeks and months to train your model, that is not something that is efficient. And so it's a different part of the market. That doesn't make it wrong. It doesn't make it bad. It just makes it different. It makes it outside the scope of traditional venture capital, in my opinion.
But there is a way to play this market, right? As we saw in the SaaS business, one of the most masterful strokes that Salesforce did early on was their course.com platform. And that kind of democratized that business, and a lot of people developed applications on top of Salesforce platform, and the platform as a service industry came about. And companies like Viva were very capital efficient companies that were built on top of Salesforce's platform. There are many others actually. So my thesis is that same logic is going to apply here as well. The open AIs and Anthropics and Coheres and so on in that world, who are raising very large amounts of money and training big data sets, are going to operate as SaaS companies. And then there's a layer of businesses that will build applications on top of those. And that's going to be a venture style business. The applications built on the SaaS are going to be venture style businesses. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. The way I describe the landscape of AI opportunities today for entrepreneurs is, broadly speaking, in three categories. So there are the foundational model types of opportunities, where clearly the quality and the ability of the models is increasing, but that is a very capital inefficient business. So if you want to play in that space, you have to think from very deep capital pockets if you're doing it. Second place where you can create value is by coming up with an application of some of these, and you could do it in the Viva style, where you could literally build an application on top of an open AI. And if you have some great consumer insight, market insight, business insight, you are able to solve a particular problem in a particular way better than anyone else and execute on it, I think a substantial business can be built very quickly. Because let's face it, this form of AI is a new capability, a new technology in the market today. And then the third category is the picks and shovels business. Because AI is so transformational and a lot of people will be developing and building AI, there is an opportunity to build tools for AI, to help people develop AI and install and run and manage and observe all of these AI applications that they will be doing. So the last two categories are much more amenable to the traditional venture model in terms of where I think companies will be created, and I'm investing in both those categories.
So let me double click down on the second one. I will come to the picks and shovels in a moment, but the AI applications, and often these are vertical applications. My observation is that to build a vertical application on top of a LLM, you obviously need to train in domain-specific data. Now, there is a benefit to kind of constraining that model. I don't know, you can tell me more technically how much of this is viable and how are people doing it. If you constrain the model to a small language model, the hallucination problem should go away, or at least get much more manageable. Is that a correct statement?
I wouldn't say necessarily a small language model, but yes, in general, I will say that if the set of acceptable output predictions is constrained, if you reduce that, then you reduce the amount of hallucination.
Yes.
You absolutely do that. So yes, your instincts are absolutely right. By having a narrower domain and a narrower vertical, you get better quality predictions and less hallucination.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you a question that is floating around in the industry because general AI is getting so much publicity. You know, people are focusing on the wrong thing, in my opinion. General AI is, at least from entrepreneurship perspective, general AI doesn't really matter. Does it matter? In your view, does it matter?
I think if it could be built, it could matter hugely. But I am very skeptical that it's going to be built in the very near term. We need some more breakthroughs which have not happened yet, which is completely unpredictable when those breakthroughs will happen. It's like trying to predict the next Nobel Prize.
And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter because there's so much available right now with which so much can be done in the vertical AI mode. It's almost like I don't really care what happens to general AI.
I'm in violent agreement. There is so much low-hanging fruit and there's so much opportunity right now that if you want to be just a pragmatic entrepreneur and you just want to quickly get started and quickly want to start building a company, there's tons of opportunity in that space.
Yeah, there's tons of opportunity, and you can build on top of one of these platforms that are getting, ridiculous amounts of funding and are following through with the platform as a service offering, and you can build on top of that. You don't need to worry about this training the whole model yourself.
Exactly. You are benefiting from this massive investment of capital that has been done on your behalf to train this model that you can now use for practically free.
Yeah. Now, on picks and shovels, what are you seeing, and where are the gaps in the market? What would you like to see?
Yeah, the picks and shovels has traditionally been a very lucrative area for venture capital. The tradition is always invest in the picks and shovels, not in the gold itself. If you want to, if you want to be a good investor, and we have seen a tremendous amount of investment in that space coming in recently, all the way from developer tools, infrastructure tools, orchestration tools, observability tools, and I think that follows a more traditional path. And the nearest analogy is actually something that you brought up earlier, Force.com, which really started the whole PaaS movement and how applications can be quickly deployed and built on other people's platforms. And that is really where you are seeing a lot of companies develop. I continue to see that as a lucrative area. It can be a smaller market, so you have to be careful. And when I say smaller, it's all relative. In other words, it's not a $1 trillion market. It may only be $10 billion, which is of course still a gigantic business. So you have to be more careful when you think about how you size it, how you plan your business, and what you are growing with. But yeah, there will be developer tools built for sure in this. The danger in the picks and shovels market is that whatever picks and shovels you build implicitly assumes some sort of a stack. It assumes what type of AI you're going to build. And if tomorrow that changes, you could become irrelevant very quickly.
Yes.
Because this is such a dynamic space and there's so much new developments taking place. But those are the risks that every business takes.
Yeah.
And new technology can always make a business obsolete. And so you really have to stay on top of the state of the art.
Now, there's obviously all kinds of points of views on general AI. Let's say for discussion's sake, general AI does become viable. Does general AI then eliminate the need for vertical AI, or vertical AI is still needed?
So first, just to clarify, by general AI, I think you are referring to AGI. In other words, artificial general intelligence is really what you're referring to, just to put a fine point on it.
Yes.
The answer to your question will depend on what are the limitations of this AGI. What are the characteristics of this AGI that develops? It's hard to imagine, an AGI that could do anything and everything. In other words, generally AGI is kind of hard to imagine. So if you think of ourselves as a form of intelligence, we obviously define human beings as intelligence, and most people would define an AGI as something similar or equivalent to a human brain, a human mind. The ability to reason, to learn new tasks, to create new ideas, to be creative, to come up with novel ideas. But we still have limitations, right? We have a very limited memory span. We have to train ourselves. Even then, if we want to build new ideas, we still have to train ourselves for years and decades sometimes to advance the state of the art. And so it really depends on what type of AGI gets built. As I mentioned earlier, I'm skeptical. I don't believe an LLM is a path to AGI. So I don't think just throwing more GPUs and building an ever bigger model and training it more times is going to give you an AGI. So there's going to have to be some other breakthroughs from which AGI will come, and then it'll depend on what the constraints of those breakthroughs are.
Yeah, the way I've been processing this AGI question is as follows. First and foremost, you and I are relatively important human beings, not artificial, real human beings. But, if I decide now that I want to be a heart surgeon, this is not a reasonable path that I can follow. Maybe if AGI is part of the equation, that AGI can be trained very rapidly in that skill set. But it still has to be trained in that skill set. Can we assume that AGI, when it becomes a reality, is going to be an expert in every domain, in every possible way? Can solve every possible problem, can be an expert in every single function. There's maybe one way of thinking about training AGI to become an expert in everything, but that's an unlikely scenario. And here's the rub in terms of where I think I'm getting stuck in thinking in this thought experiment. There are APIs and workflows that you have to navigate, right? So if I'm going to be this, super expert doctor suddenly with the help of AGI, I need to still be able to get into the medical systems, look at the medical records, and medical research and so on and so forth. So there is a vertical workflow, there's a vertical industry structure that we operate within. Just because there's a technology that is capable of learning at a furious pace, are we going to do away with all of those infrastructures? It's security, it's privacy, it's as you talked about HIPAA, blah, blah, blah. I mean, compliance, there's all kinds of things that an industry is built with. Are we going to do away with all that?
Of course not. And I think your instincts are absolutely right, to the point that there is a subset of researchers who believe that the path to AGI relies on being embodied in a human-like device. In other words, they believe that part of the reason that we are as intelligent as we are and we are able to learn and do all of these things is because we have a particular shape and form when we are born as children, and we learn a lot from the environment that we interact with and thereby become more intelligent. And that is intrinsic to our ability to achieve this form of AGI that we have. And so they're actually building robots and physical devices and trying to embody AI in a physical body. And they believe that they'll get faster learning from that methods. We don't know the answer. These are research topics. If you want to do a PhD in AI and AGI, that's a great area to go work in. But it is not a way to entrepreneurship, in my opinion. Entrepreneurship is about getting to a commercial product relatively quickly. For a traditional VC, it's within 1 to 2 years. For a very patient VC, it may be 3, 4, 5 years. But that's about the maximum time you have. And so you're really out of the realm of science.
What we say is you go from $0 to $100 million in 5 to 7 years. Otherwise, you don't have a venture scale company. And that's the reality of our business. So, the other thing that you brought up about the human form, humanoid form is not the most efficient from a robotics point of view, right? Humanoid robots cannot do simple things that human beings can do. And is it really worthwhile to invest in training those humanoid robots to do simple, silly things like making coffee? Hey, come on, it's a wastage of time.
It could be. But again, that's why it's a research topic. We don't know. There may be some deep insight, by training a humanoid to make coffee in an arbitrary kitchen. I think you're referring to that famous test for AGI. Can this machine walk into an arbitrary kitchen and make a cup of coffee for itself? But most human beings can do that very easily. It would be impossible today to solve that. Maybe there's some learning, maybe there's some insight in that. And perhaps we can, put a bow on this whole discussion by recognizing that AI today, the things that we are so excited about, AGI and ChatGPT and all of these LLMs, etc., we still don't know how they work. We still don't know why they work. We don't have any first principles research which has solved that problem. We just know they work. We know they do certain things in a certain way, which we find useful. Okay, wonderful. But it's just an empirical observation. There's no magic. We haven't figured out why they work. So at some point, my hope and belief is that we will come to the first principles definition of what is intelligence, and from that derive an AGI. And then maybe we can derive what you're talking about, which is a general form of AGI, which can know everything and do everything that an intelligence could ever do. When I trained as an engineer, we studied Nyquist's theorem and we studied Shannon's and information theory and some of these, very fundamental principles and theorems that exist in knowledge. None of that has been applied to AGI. None of that has been applied to information. Surely there is some match over there. And the simplest empirical observation is, right now I'm using roughly 20 watts. You're using roughly 20 watts to have this conversation. Our brains consume, order of 20 watts. And here we are using hundreds of megawatts to do a much more...
Our story is a very complex story, yes. As you were talking about your training, I was thinking about my engineering training, and one of my favorite courses at MIT was Anant Agarwal's VLSI design course. And that is actually very automatable, right? That you train AI to do chip design. AI can design great chips. This is a highly automatable problem. So
it's ironic that one of the first applications for AI has been software development.
Software development, exactly.
Software is being developed using AI, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
So
and that's going to go a long way. I mean, there's a very large population of people in the world today make their living as software developers, and if that becomes an AI job, then that's going to the evolution of that profession is going to be a very interesting one. My thesis is that profession is going to become entrepreneurs, because if you have understanding of how AI works and you can use tools to actually do that work, at least that's a great background with which to come up with new problems that you solve using all those tools and technologies. And that probably will explode entrepreneurship even further.
Yes, I have a company which is working exactly in that space called Cognitos, where the founder has written, and I won't go into too much detail here, but in effect, a compiler that cannot hallucinate, that works with LLMs, so with which you can automate tasks. So it is a guaranteed 100% hallucination-proof way of automating tasks using LLMs. And that's wonders of creativity of the human brain, of entrepreneurship. People come up with new ideas all the time.
Yeah. So my last question, what do you think you would be investing in 5 years' time? You know, we are seeing this market develop. You know, we've kind of been in this business for a while. We can see, these trends. Like, it's not difficult for me to pick up the past trend because I've seen this movie before. I know how, past works. I know how a developer ecosystem works. It's kind of obvious to me that this is the direction this business is going to go. And then the VCs will invest in those applications developed on platforms, et cetera, et cetera. So we, the industry has been around. We can extrapolate some of it. What are you extrapolating? What are your assumptions? What are your predictions, which are, I'm sure, informing how you are thinking about your strategy?
Before coming into venture capital, I used to run product management at VMware. And my background is obviously as an operating executive, having run a company before. And we had a saying in product management: the problems stay the same, the solutions change. Mm-hmm. So 5 years from now, I still believe we will be working on the same problems, the same opportunities. How do we make people more efficient? How do we process information? What tasks are interesting to people? The motivations of human beings, feeding people's ego, greed, etc., which is where a lot of the consumer work gets done. Feeding the 7 sins for people. And but the technologies change, the solutions change for doing it. So the real question that you're asking in my mind reduces to what will be the technologies 5 years from now that we would be looking at from an investment perspective. Yes. I absolutely believe that AI is one of those transformational technologies which will be very relevant, important, and would have developed even more 5 years from now and will be at its peak in terms of commercial viability and application. So just like the internet, exploded on the public scene in 1994 with the IPO for Netscape, but the internet had been around for decades before that, right? The internet existed, the networks existed, but people started using the internet. The browser. With the web browser. Similarly, ChatGPT brought AI to the forefront. And for the next 5 years, it is going to be an AI-first world where we will be still investing in AI.
Now, actually, I said it was going to be the last question, but as I was listening to you, something else came to my mind, which is, we have seen incredible amount of investment in software as a service for the last 15 years. I think I would say 2008 around then is when SaaS kind of became mainstream. Of course, Salesforce started in 1999, but really the cloud business became mainstream in the mid 2000s after the nuclear winter, et cetera, right? So Now that's a long time already. That's already 20 years almost. Um, but now, all these SaaS companies, including the ones that are, 5, 10, 20, 30, $40 million in revenue, have to put AI in their heart of their applications. Otherwise, there are other companies out there that are coming into the market with AI as, they're leading with the current cutting edge technology, and the ones that don't have AI in their middle or in their heart are facing obsolescence problems. How do you think this is going to play out?
Yeah, so this is the inevitable march. This is creative destruction at its finest. This is what happens when a new technology comes along, a new capability comes along. Let's separate SaaS into two pieces. Mm-hmm. The reason software as a service became so popular is that one, it was a more efficient delivery mechanism. Yes. It was a way of delivering software and capability to people, but it was also a business model that was very attractive for many reasons. The monthly recurring or the annual recurring fees, being able to charge for it in that.
Revenue predictability became very attractive for investors.
Exactly. And so, those are the two sides of SaaS. And so in terms of the delivery mechanism, there's nothing which says that AI cannot be delivered through SaaS or should or should not.
We're going to stay with the same model. That works. It's a good one. So let's say. Absolutely.
And so other than special cases like the mobile phone, where clearly on-device capabilities are very important, and Apple, proved that you had to have and control the device to be able to deliver some features at an excellent level. In most other cases, you can deliver through other devices, and SaaS delivery is very viable. And so there will be a vast amount of business that will simply look and behave like SaaS, but will be based on AI.
It's AI SaaS. That's going to be AI SaaS, basically.
Exactly. It's really going to be AI behind the scenes over there. So
that's your company, and you're coming into the market as an AI SaaS company. That's wonderful. But the ones who are further along and who are getting disrupted a bit, that's where I think they're facing problems.
Yes, if you are an existing business, you have 10, 20, $40 million in revenues, you built it on an old stack, you're going to get out of date very, very quickly, unless you can find a way of bringing AI into your offering and building your company with that mechanism.
This is not an easy thing to do at all.
Extremely hard to do.
This is extremely hard.
This is extremely hard to do. And this is also why, to an earlier discussion, Shana, that we had, venture-backed companies succeed when they move fast, and you really only have a few years window to build your business. If you think you have 10 or 20 years to do it, you don't. The technologies will be different, the markets will be different, your use cases will have changed. And so you have to run really, really fast. And speed is actually one of the best correlations with success. So
venture fund, absolutely, there's no question. Yeah.
Speed is one of the best correlations over there. So run fast, even at the cost of making mistakes. People who make mistakes but run faster end up winning compared to people who don't make mistakes but run slower.
All right. Is there anything I should have asked you that I did not?
No, I really enjoyed the conversation. Obviously AI is very topical today. It is an area that I am actively investing in, have been investing for the last 5-7 years. So if anybody wants to start a company with a technical insight, please reach out and I'd be happy to write you your first check.
Well, there will be lots of distribution of your interviews, so I'm sure you will get lots of those. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ashmi. It was great catching up with you a bit, and look forward to talking more in due course.
Thank you.
So, folks, we are not doing any entrepreneur pitches today. I have to run. I'm going to quickly give you a rundown on how to use 1Mby1M. As you have seen probably in our communication, we are really focusing. Sorry, folks, that was the last bit of the interview that I was showing you. It's material that I really wanted to share with you because this is one of the best interviews in the AI investing series that we have done so far, and just thought it would be relevant for you to look at that. Now, we have two entrepreneur pitches today, actually, and as you know, this is Jerry Nwodobo and Amol Namjoshi. I don't know if I pronounced Jerry your last name right, but we are going to work on your businesses next. We want you to succeed. This is a safe working session. Don't be nervous. Don't be defensive. If you disagree with my feedback, that's your prerogative. I will give you feedback. You see what you want to take from it. Jerry, you are up first. Please unmute your line and get going. You can turn on your video if you like. But you do need to unmute your line because I cannot hear you yet.
Hey, good evening.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, my name is Jerry Nwodobo, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Olive Stacks. So Olive Stacks is an EdTech platform, and we're focusing on mentorship. Our focus is on creating, helping young people in Africa develop their skills and to reach the global market, and also develop products for today and the future. We are stepping into the gap of skills. We have a skills problem in Africa, where we're trying to step into that gap to help young people who want to transition to tech, and also help people develop expertise in tech areas, and also in business development, and in also creating projects and products that will suit the African market and the global market. So that's the problem. And we also identify that we have a curriculum problem, and which we are trying to solve by harnessing the power of connectivity, global interconnectivity, by bringing together global mentors on our platform. So with this connectivity, global mentors can mentor young people and other people who want to develop their skills through our platform. Right now, we have a web platform where we connect mentors and mentees, where they can learn coding skills, they can learn design, they can also be mentored in business development, in career development, and also leadership development. So that is what we do at Olive Stacks: connect mentees to mentors who understand the business, the areas where these people need expertise. So the market size is about 10 million in Africa and 1 million in Nigeria, which cuts across young school leavers and young business people, and with a value of $3.1 billion. We also we're looking at right now we have about 100 students that's part of the program, which is expanding. Just this week we got about 400 that came on board, which we're also trying to begin the program with. So the program focuses on helping these young people to create these skills that will help them transition to tech, and also help them become a solution to the African problems, and also help companies, new companies in Africa, to develop products that will solve African problems, and also create solve curriculum problems, because we realize that and we have a gap in Africa when it comes to the technological gap, knowledge gap, and we want to bridge that gap through mentorship. So our target is 1 million users. And so how Olive Stacks works is by, first of all, the user has to come on board, sign up, and select the course they want mentorship on: software development, artificial intelligence, and business development, design thinking, all forms of classes that are on the program. And then they get assigned to a mentor. And once they get assigned to a mentor, they start watching learning videos, and also get one-on-one sessions with our mentors who are scattered all over Nigeria, Africa, and the world. And we have mentors from various parts of the world who are experts in the field, and who have a proven track record of solving problems in their various fields. So our team is made up of I, Jerry Nwodobo, who's the CTO and CEO, and Ronak, who's the education director from MIT Harvard, and Clement, who's the project manager, who's an experienced project manager from Nigeria. So we are the team at Olive Stacks.
So let me ask you
yes.
a few questions here.
Okay.
Have you done competitive analysis of what's happening in Africa in this domain?
Yes, we have. We've done a competitive analysis.
Do you have a slide on competitive analysis?
Yes, we do have a slide on competitive analysis. It's part of the pitch.
Where is that?
It's towards the end, like the next slide before milestone.
But this is not what I'm looking for. Competitive analysis is other competitors and their strategies. That's how you do competitive analysis. This is not competitive analysis. What you have here is not competitive analysis.
Okay. We
So
know the competitors.
who do you think is your key competitor?
Okay, in Africa, we have ALX as the biggest player in EdTech. ALX Africa is the biggest competitor we have in Africa, and our strength is our approach, which is practical-based approach, not just theory-based learning. We are looking at practical-based approach and pairing our students with mentors, live mentors that have track record.
Does ALX have mentors, live mentors?
Yes, real mentors, real people in the field who are practicing in the field. Like if a student or if a mentee wants to go into JavaScript, Python, artificial intelligence, we pair them with a person who is technically sound in that regard, who can mentor this person through the rigors and the process of getting this skill and also practicing. And also helping them to achieve expertise in that field. So that applies to all the fields, all the programs we have. That applies to business development. That applies to career development. That also applies to leadership development. Applies to UI UX design.
Goodness.
I can hear you. I'm here.
Okay, I'm trying to ask you a question and you're talking over me. That's not productive.
Okay. I didn't hear your question.
Does ALX have live mentors?
No, ALX doesn't have live mentors.
Do you have any idea what it takes to do live mentorship for 1 million students?
Yes, we have an idea of what it takes.
I don't think it's feasible.
Okay.
I have two comments on this. So first and foremost, your competitive analysis is not sufficiently thorough, because I have not heard Udemy as an option there. Udemy is one of the largest EdTech companies that is playing in this space, in this very low cost technical training space, programming skills, technical skills space. And Udemy has a huge presence in Africa. That's number one. Number two is this point that I just made is I don't think you'll be able to effectively, cost effectively offer one-on-one mentoring for 1 million students. And it is not even necessary, in my opinion, because it is not, you learn programming with programming, lessons. It's not something that needs to be customized to you. Programming is programming. You need to have basically lecture material and practice lessons with which you learn programming. And that does not require one-on-one mentoring, number one. And number two, it is not feasible to do one-on-one mentoring at that scale. So you have two problems here. One is what you're trying to do is not necessary to do. And number two is it is not feasible to do one-on-one mentoring. And number three is you have a very large competitor in the market who's doing this at scale that you don't even seem to be aware of. So These are three really big problems in what you've
Okay.
presented so far.
Yes. I acknowledge the Udemy as a competitor, but why I didn't mention them is because one, they also do not offer mentorship, which is one of our the areas we are coming in. You talked about the problem of mentorship when it comes to 1 million users, and but we are not just coming from tech skills like programming. We're also looking at career development. We're also looking at leadership development. We're also looking at expertise and also helping connect these mentees with people because we know that the problem in Africa is not just about teaching people programming. We're looking at practical lessons. We're looking at pairing these people with people that they can look up to, that
So
can
don't waste
that
your
can guide.
if that's what you want to do, career development, coaching, and mentoring, then don't waste your time and energy and resources on programming skills. Let ALX and Udemy do programming because they do it well. Udemy certainly does it well, teaching programming. Focus on trying to crack the problem of career development or things that do have where mentoring is relevant. In programming, mentoring is not relevant. Then pick topics to teach that where programming is where mentoring is relevant, that still leaves the question, how are you going to do that at scale? And I think it's very difficult to do at scale. It's possible to do it at scale if you can make it feasible to do with AI. But if you're actually going to involve human beings in that mentoring, it is not possible to do at scale.
Yes, so we acknowledge the difficulty when it comes to scale. And right now we have about 40 mentors and counting. And the vision is to have up to 100,000 mentors, not just having 10,500 mentors, but to have more mentors sign up on the platform as we grow to up to 1 million users. So that way we have many mentors
Are you
who sign
paying
up
these mentors?
Yes, these mentors are going to be paid. They're going to be having a percentage of we're going to be paying them based on the number of hours spent on the platform. We're going to be having a remuneration plan that the mentors get paid per session. So that we encourage more people to come on board. Those who feel like they want to give back to society, they want to help, they want to impact knowledge into people's lives, and also give back to society. They can come on board, and also that way we can grow a network of up to 100,000 to 500,000 mentors as we grow, as the platform grows.
And
So
where is the validation that students are willing to pay for this kind of mentorship?
okay, the validation is that right now we have a number of students that have paid for this program because we've started testing. We have over 100 students already that have already signed up. We have two models. One is a subscription model where the mentees pay monthly, a $30 subscription model for every month to engage with these mentors. And secondly, we also engage with corporate organizations, government agencies, and humanitarian bodies to also come on board and do a corporate sponsorship for underserved communities and students who want to learn these skills but cannot afford it. So these organizations can also take up 100 people, 20 people, 30 people, 50, 1,000 people, as the case may be, as their corporate social responsibility. So these are the two models we want to take up in going ahead in getting these students to pay or get corporate organizations to fund the training program for these mentees.
Okay. So what I've heard here that could be interesting is if you can bring in CSR funding from corporates to pay mentors to mentor students that are on your platform. If it's a paid program and if CSR funding can finance mentors to do this kind of mentoring, that might work. But you have to be very careful about what you choose as the topics of mentoring. Don't waste your time on programming. People do not want to teach programming in a mentoring mode. Programming, it's not something that is custom to students, right? People who are seeking mentoring, if you're talking about career development, that can be more personalized, that has more, more specific, student-specific issues, and mentors, live mentors, people who have perspective about a certain career path may bring that to that discussion, and that may be valuable. Don't waste your time on teaching programming.
Okay.
So that's my feedback. We can talk more afterwards. Let me finish working with Amol, and you can ask more questions later.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Amol, you're next.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, Amol.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, thank you. So I come with 20 years background in social entrepreneurship in India, and I just launched Endeavour School of Entrepreneurship. It's basically a digital academy offering courses on entrepreneurship. So this is my background, and I have my website and LinkedIn handle and YouTube channel. So basically, vision is to nurture entrepreneurial spirit among 100 million youths of India, because India is a young country and there is a lot of potential of nurturing entrepreneurial spirit among youths.
Is this an accredited institution? Are you giving degrees?
No. Yeah, I will be having a certified course, but it is from my own academy, not affiliated to someone.
So it's not an accredited institution?
No, not accredited.
Okay.
So basically, there is no structured entrepreneurship education in current educational framework. There are either engineering colleges or MBA colleges in India, or regular degree colleges. But I think the structured entrepreneurship education is important for any kind of graduate or working professional. So providing practical skills, crucial guidance, mentorship, networks, connections, and preparing them for entrepreneurship. And the cost of regular MBA courses are very high, so many people can't afford. So my target market is any aspiring entrepreneur. It may be early stage entrepreneur, working professional who wants to shift from job to entrepreneurship, a freelancer, social entrepreneur, mostly undergraduate and graduate students, and parents of students who want their children to learn entrepreneurship. So there is a demand for entrepreneurial education. After post-COVID, digital world has brought so many opportunities in India. Then India itself has a big market of 140 crore people, and there is a lot of scope for entrepreneurship. Then remote learning, global reach. India can provide low-cost, affordable services to outside markets. There is increasing demand for social entrepreneurship also, because there are so many social issues, and earlier approach was social work approach, which needs to become more professional. Social entrepreneurship approaches needed to tackle social issues. Then
And is digital, what you're providing is a digital solution?
Digital, yeah, digital courses.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pre-recorded courses, pre-recorded videos plus live interactive sessions based on my own journey, as well as interacting with other entrepreneurs, weekly podcast or some kind of interactions we will have with especially young entrepreneurs, because I have seen that established entrepreneurs, their quotes, their examples inspire youths, but when it comes to actual action, young entrepreneurs who are working around their real life challenges will guide them more. So I want to bring them that platform. Personalized mentorship and course. My course fees is very affordable. For foundational course on entrepreneur mindset mastery, it is 2,000 to 3,000. And I have two specialized courses. One is social entrepreneurship and one is digital entrepreneurship. which we are around 5,000 to 7,000 plus subscription based membership. Plus, I am planning college or institutional training programs, NGO or corporate training programs, workshops, events, certifications, affiliate marketing because I have platform, LMS platform. I am planning to have that affiliate marketing and other businesses will evolve. Currently, I am at pre-launch stage. I have a first course of entrepreneurial mindset mastery at ready level, but I have not recorded videos yet. I am recording videos. I have started free webinars for creating awareness. I'm launching YouTube videos and writing on LinkedIn and Facebook. And I have conducted one survey where I got 125 responses where there is a lot of enthusiasm about these courses. So this is my brief background. So basically, I don't come from any tech background, so I cannot be called hardcore innovation or tech person. But am I on right track considering my plan? Is my plan viable? And if it is, then what can be next plan and how can I approach investors for this?
So I will answer your question, how can you approach investors? As it stands, currently, you are not a fundable company. For you to be able to approach investors and have any success with investors, you would need to get traction. This is a B2C venture mostly. You're trying to get people to sign up on their own, right? Subscribe on their own or pay for courses on their own, and you know, that's your business model. And you need to show really, you know, high uptick of your offering. And if you can show really high uptick that yes, people are signing up and are, you know, in big numbers, then and only then investors would be interested. Are you on the right track and is your plan viable? I think the plan is too broad. You can be successful in doing something like this if you base it on your own experience and domain knowledge, something that you are an expert in. In many ways, what you're trying to do is what we are doing at 1Mby1M, and I'm sure that has not escaped you. And what we are doing, however, is only in tech and tech-enabled services, which is my expertise. That's why we are doing that. That is not your expertise. Your expertise in social entrepreneurship. So to be credible, I'm very credible in my field. The only way something like this is going to work is if you are credible in what you're teaching. I'm credible in what I teach. You need to be credible in what you teach. And if you're not credible in what you teach, if you try to teach stuff that you don't know anything about, you will not be successful. You don't really know anything about digital entrepreneurship. So don't try to teach something that you don't know anything about. Social entrepreneurship, you're saying you've spent 20 years in social entrepreneurship, and especially if you've been a successful social entrepreneur, maybe you have something to teach based on that experience. If not, if you try to teach something that you don't know anything about, that's going to be blind leading the blind. And that kind of ventures never succeed. So what can be your expansion plan? You first come up with something that can even start. Right now, what you've presented, I don't think you will even be able to get the minimum traction unless you really contain it to something where you have an unfair advantage. So what can you tell me a bit more about what have you done in social entrepreneurship? What kind of work have you done?
Yes, basically it was, I cannot say that I ran organizations, but I played key role in different types of organizations like community organization, community building, NGO, developmental organization, where I ran entrepreneurship models of education for deprived children, school dropout children, then tribal development, women SHG and credit linkage. And I was part of donor agency where we supported many social incubatees in education and health domain through the Deshpande Foundation in Karnataka. Then I was with Tata Trust in donor as a part of donor agency. I was with Government Mission under Rural Development Department, where we had a big social self-help group program with 500 crore bank linkage we did through
Then
network of
in
45
that
districts.
case, in that case, my advice would be to try to take this plan that you just presented and apply it to social entrepreneurship, whether it's rural development, tribal development, etc., and entrepreneurship in that context. And there is a lot of social entrepreneurship. There's a lot of opportunity for social entrepreneurship. There are, there is funding available for social entrepreneurship. There's CSR funding for social entrepreneurship, as you know. And if you can build curriculum on how to be a successful social entrepreneur and really focus on specific topics within that may be interesting. And if you can get CSR funding to promote that may be something that you can do. I don't think you would be able to get money from traditional venture investors for something like this. I think this is going to have to be a CSR funding kind of situation. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for your frank and open feedback. Thank you. I will.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, folks, let me take you through how to use 1 million by 1 million, and then I will take more questions. Everything is at 1Mby1M.com. This is a completely digital program. Our premium program is the full acceleration program. It's $1,000 annual membership fee for we help you with strategy consulting, mentoring, coaching, whatever you call it. This is the format in which we work within the premium program, but it's members only. We have an investor introduction offering within that program, but you have to be fundable before we are going to introduce you to investors. We have a terrific curriculum in tech and tech entrepreneurship, tech-enabled services entrepreneurship. This is one of the finest curriculums out there with full methodology, case studies, etc. And we also offer you influencer marketing within that context, partly because I am a top LinkedIn influencer. So if you're looking to influence people and get the word out there about your work, that is something that is part of the program. Also, many of you currently are not doing entrepreneurship full-time or are in the very, very early stages of your entrepreneurial journey. For you, I strongly recommend starting with 1M by 1M Basic. And this is our curriculum-only program. If you can just budget time, whether it's nights and weekends, maybe an hour or two per day, maybe during the weekends a bit more, and just study the 1M by 1M curriculum, the core curriculum, the elective curriculum. If you just study the curriculum and just kind of start building using what you learn in that curriculum, that is going to help you tremendously. Because many of you are kind of jumping into entrepreneurship without really any idea of how to put one foot before the other. A smarter way to do entrepreneurship is by learning how to put one foot before the other while keeping your job, and then quitting the job to after you validate your idea. That's my perspective anyway. So go to the website, look around on the website, what to expect from premium, what to expect from basic. We've got a lot of requests for one-on-one consulting. And so if you want one-on-one consulting, there is a page on one-on-one consulting, and you can access one-on-one consulting, and you're welcome to access that. And there's a page on that. You can sign up through that. Free roundtables happen every week. We have one more in August and then 4 in September. So if you're looking for a slot to pitch, please go ahead and sign up, and we will be happy to work with you. Questions about the 1M program after this session, Irina Patterson is your contact, irina@1mby1m.com. I see a hand up, that's MO2. Maureen, could you put MO2 in the panel so that he can ask questions? I'm happy to take more questions from the program, from the audience, sorry. Adam,
Hello. Yes, I'm glad to be here. I wanted to ask. So I brought in Emeka the last time to pitch, and I haven't had much time, but I wanted to ask. So we're talking about paying a monthly subscription. He was talking about doing that. So what does he hope to get from the monthly subscription?
it's just the curriculum. You have to,
Okay.
that's exactly what I was just telling you. If you, let's go
Okay.
back to the monthly subscription page. The 1M1M basic is the monthly subscription. You get access to the curriculum, and you have, it's a self-learning. You learn all the topics that you need to learn. So if you go to the basic page on the website, it has a bunch of things that you can look at, and that's what you get.
Oh, okay.
You get
Okay.
to study the curriculum.
Okay, that's fine. So those are the trainings. Are they the same trainings on your curriculum that is similar with the Udemy?
Yes, a
Oh,
lot more than Udemy though.
oh, fantastic.
We have
Okay,
the
great.
entire curriculum on we have given Udemy some of our modules, but by signing up for 1M1M Basic, you get all modules. You have access to the entire 1M curriculum.
Okay, great. So I have one more question.
Yes.
So in regards to what you made mention, I remember you insisted on collaboration with your program.
Mm-hmm.
So I recently started doing some grant trainings and also entrepreneurial training, because I've had some of them, quite some good accolades in the past. So I wanted to just inform you. So I'll be bringing a lot of them to the program.
Okay.
Yes. So I wanted to take the permission to put your logo as a partner, so that when they're going through the training process, they could come on board to your program.
You have to show us what you're doing. So
Okay.
you should communicate with Maureen and show us what you want to do before you have to, without we can't give you blanket permission. We have to see what you're doing before we can give you permission. Okay. But you're most welcome to sign up people to the program. It's all online, right? So anybody can sign up.
Okay, great. Okay, I will do that.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Jerry, you have another question?
Yes, with regards to your observation,
yes,
you talked about it not being feasible to conduct coding through mentorship, and you also talked about the feasibility of when we grow to about 1 million getting mentors. Because I also want to share an experience we have from what we've done so far. We have some mentees who we are already training, both in career development, in business development, and also in coding. And the impact is that these young people who have no idea of using these tools like JavaScript, Python, AI, and we've seen progress. They've been making progress with the mentorship we've offered so far, and even helping them to even start businesses. Like we're already in the process of helping young people start businesses with the skills they've acquired, and also in career development. So is there a way we can make it work with our model, especially with the humanitarian aspect of it, where we are coming from a place of need in Africa? Most people want these skills, but they can't even afford Udemy or ALX. They don't even know how to even.
Cheap. Udemy, affording Udemy shouldn't be no problem. I don't know ALX's pricing, but Udemy is incredibly cheap. In Africa, Udemy is unbelievably cheap. So I don't think there is any affordability issue. So if my recommendation to you would be to kind of build this on top of Udemy. So maybe there is, if it's a JavaScript training or even some of the entrepreneurship training that we are giving on Udemy, you can build on top of that. You can have people learn those from Udemy and then maybe provide mentorship on top of that. So the basics are done through existing systems, existing content, and then if there is, additional stuff that you can provide on top of that, that may be a better way for you to go to market. Because I think you should not compete with Udemy on something like this. They are big, right? And also I think if you try to reinvent the wheel of trying to teach JavaScript programming through mentors, that is not a scalable solution. You will be able to do 50 people, 100 people, but this is not going to be millions of people. If you try to do millions of people, you're better off riding on top of existing content that is already out there, that has already been created by other people and are available for very affordable prices. So why not use that? And then maybe you become a Udemy affiliate if you want, or something like that. But don't try to redo Udemy and try to compete with them on price, because their pricing is absolutely rock bottom. And it's going to take you a long time to develop that level of content. Content development is very expensive. We have done tremendous content development over the last 20 years, and it's been a very, very expensive process.
Okay, thank you. Yes, answers the question. So, what qualifies us, or what puts us in the position to be able to get funding? And what do we have to do to help us to be able to attract both local and international funding when it comes to grants and investments?
Jerry, can you please sign up for 1M Basic and do the curriculum?
That would be very amazing. We'll be glad to do that.
I think that's
Yes.
going to teach you what you need to learn. Because what you need is yourself, what you need is a really strong training in tech entrepreneurship, digital entrepreneurship. And that's what we provide. So why don't you just go through that? And then it's going to get you much further than where you are right now.
All right. We'll do that.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other questions, anybody? All right, I don't see any other questions. I will see you next time, and good luck. Make lots of progress, and by all means, do 1M Basic and get yourselves trained. And Emotu, you're welcome to get as many students trained as you want. Jerry, you're welcome to get your students trained using this program. No problem. Please feel free to use it as much as you want. Take care. Bye.